Anne. Buffy's moping proves too strong to be contained by one city and spreads to Los Angeles.
We open in a cemetery where a vampire pops up, but because Buffy left at the end of Season 2, the slaying is left to Willow, Xander, and Oz, and they suck.
They discuss that they still don't know where Buffy is and that school is starting tomorrow.
We then cut to Buffy on a beach with Angel, which is a dream, because she stabbed his ass in the last episode.
And it turns out she is in Los Angeles.
I noticed that in the intro montage, there's a lot more quick cuts, but I did like that we see Seth Green credited, because I do like his character.
I was disappointed to see David Boreanaz listed among the main cast. I was hoping we were done.
I didn't even notice that. Buffy's working in a restaurant under the name Anne.
And she has to deal with a bunch of assholes. So a typical restaurant job.
Yep, I can agree from personal experience.
She talks to a girl and her boyfriend who are covered in dirt and just gross looking. The girl seems to recognize her, but Buffy walks away before she can be sure.
Back in Sunnydale, in the library, Willow, wearing one of those hats that everybody wore in the 90s, meets with Giles and Cordelia. And we get a walkthrough to remind us of a bunch of characters in the show.
And it's all one long shot, and I thought it was impressive that everybody got all their lines right.
I liked Larry's joke.
If we can focus, keep discipline, and not have quite as many mysterious deaths, Sunnydale is gonna rule!
Cordelia has been away all summer, and she and Xander have a hard time reconnecting.
Which doesn't make any sense. I have that a lot.
I thought it was fine. My note says not in a stupid way.
I mean, I think it went way too long. Literally the entire episode.
Yeah, that's true. We cut back to Buffy, alone, and surprise, surprise, moping.
I knew it was going to be her because that melodramatic piano music started playing. She's met by the girl in the diner, who turns out was from the episode Lied to Me, that vampire cult one, which was weird and unexpected.
And she's now going by the name Lily. They awkwardly bond over their need to disappear at times, and then Matt Damon from Saving Private Ryan walks out into traffic.
While saying, "I'm no one." I recognized him from House of a Thousand Corpses.
Of course you did. You and your degenerate viewing.
That's what everyone says when they don't understand art.
Buffy pushes him out of the way, but she gets hit, even though it seems like she could have avoided it.
And she runs to avoid him to explain how she can get hit by a car without injury.
You thought that's why she ran away? I thought it was just because she was an idiot.
Well, could be both.
She bumps into a guy handing out flyers, who I recognized from the first episode of Firefly.
I recognized him from Seinfeld as the pool boy, but I refer to him in this episode as Creepy Dude.
Creepy Dude invites Buffy to a shelter and says she looks like she needs help of some kind. He talks about how a lot of kids end up on the street, and we get a weird montage that ends up as part of a musical performance at the Bronze that goes on way too long.
Xander and Willow are sitting watching the performance, and surprisingly, Xander is moping about something.
When Cordelia walks in, Xander gets an idea to use her as bait.
To assist in their vampire hunting. Giles visits Joyce,
who reveals that she blames him for Buffy leaving because he was working with her in secret.
I was honestly surprised she showed up in this episode, and actually had lines.
Lily shows up at Buffy's restaurant and says that her boyfriend is missing. I assumed he was just covered in so much dirt that she couldn't find him.
Okay. Buffy is reluctant to help, but eventually they go to a blood bank that they frequently donate to.
The nurse says her boyfriend hasn't been around, but when they leave, she looks suspicious, and the ominous music only made it more suspicious.
Later, Buffy finds Lily's boyfriend's body next to a bottle of bleach, but he looks like a very old man. The only way she's able to recognize him is she notices a tattoo from earlier.
She tells Lily about it, and says that it couldn't be a vampire that killed him, because a vampire couldn't accelerate the aging process. Clearly, she has never seen Captain Kronos.
Watch our videos. Lily accuses Buffy of bringing the monsters with her, and Buffy has a very not self-aware moment.
These things happen all the time. You can't just close your eyes and hope that they're gonna go away.
And Lily storms out. What a Buffy.
On the street, she's met by a creepy dude who invites her to the family home to be with her boyfriend.
And she acts like a child and just goes along with it. What a Buffy.
She's distraught.
Whatever. So was Buffy.
You just...
Don't like dumb characters? Yeah.
You just reek of empathy. So glad you have children. Buffy breaks into the blood bank to look through their files.
and she finds a bunch that are marked candidate.
She's confronted by the nurse, who is there for some reason in the middle of the night.
I liked how Buffy intimidated and questioned her.
I'm calling the police.
I thought it was cool.
I did too. And the nurse turns out to not be any kind of monster.
She says she was sending the names of the healthy donors to him.
And I was really hoping this would turn into a Powerpuff Girls crossover, but it did not. Him turns out to be creepy guy.
Meanwhile, Cordelia complains about being vampire bait, while the others stake out and hide.
Was that a joke? Was that a play on words?
I stuck that in there to see if you would notice it. It wasn't supposed to be clever, because I actually came up with it by accident. Well, it was just the words that I used.
Testing my ability to pick out wordplay.
Unintentional wordplay.
There's no such thing.
I guess. I mean, you could argue that.
Xander and Cordelia argue about nothing because they really have nothing to argue about, but they needed something to do in the episode.
I thought it was fine. And while they're arguing, a vampire sneaks up on Willow, who decided that standing out in the open was a good hiding spot.
Buffy goes to the family home to find out what's really going on, and she finds Lily and Creepy Guy.
And Lily is apparently going to be dunked into Armus.
Watch our videos.
But it turns out to be a portal to some other dimension or something.
And they all end up falling in.
Creepy Guy reveals his true form, which is even creepier. And Buffy finds out the place is a forge or something where humans are slaves.
And also that time passes faster where they are than where they came from. Which is why when Buffy found Lily's boyfriend, he was super old.
And when Creepy Guy walks up to them, Buffy just stands there and lets him knock her out. How heroic. Xander and Cordelia are still arguing when the vampire attacks, and they accidentally manage to kill him, and then they make out.
Back in the portal, Nemesis tells Buffy that they will work, and then they will die.
They are told that they no longer have any identity, but Buffy looks inside herself and comes to terms with her true identity.
I'm Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, and you are?
She starts to fight all the demons,
and tells Lily to lead everyone out while she distracts them. And her plan is apparently to just run right out into the open and just fight everybody, so I can see why she's the Slayer.
Creepy Guy manages to grab Lily and use her as incentive for Buffy to stop.
But Lily knocks him off of this platform, which was unexpected but satisfying.
I was hoping he was going to go into one of the vats.
That would have been cool. Buffy leads them out, but it turns out that Creepy Guy isn't dead, and he stupidly tries to tackle her while she is holding up a portcullis, with predictable results.
I'm sorry, a what?
Portcullis.
Okay.
That's the gate thing. That's what it's called.
I mean, you say that like people just know that.
Yeah, it's a portcullis. Have you never lived in a castle? It's a portcullis.
Stop saying it.
Okay.
I'm going to laugh when someone in the comments says, it's actually pronounced porticulus or something like that. You're saying it wrong. The holes in that gate looked like they could have fit through them.
Buffy makes a joke about doing a Gandhi impression, and I actually thought it was funny.
Want to see my impression of Gandhi? Gandhi? Well, you know, if he was really pissed off.
It made me think of UHF when Weird Al did the same thing. They managed to make their way up through the portal.
Somehow.
And of course, as soon as they leave, it shuts behind them. But I'm pretty sure Buffy ran past some people who were still down there before.
Yeah, I thought about that too.
Yeah, screw 'em.
Buffy offers to let Lily take her identity as Anne, along with her apartment and her diner job.
And I'm wondering if she might actually show up later, if Buffy ever has to go to the city again.
Joyce answers a knock at the door, and I assumed it would be Spike coming in to kill her, because they allowed him in, but it turns out it's Buffy.
And it was sad, and it was happy, and everybody cried, and then the episode is over.
Anne.
Her?
Overall?
Like the beginning of season 2, I like the beginning of this season as well. I was honestly surprised that Joyce showed up at all, and I wonder if she'll actually be a presence in the season. This whole episode was higher budget than I expected, probably because it's a season opener, but there was also better lighting and cinematography than I expected too, especially during some of those fight scenes. Xander and Cordelia's thing, to me, was completely artificial since they didn't actually have anything to complain or argue about. It was very indicative of how there was nothing for either of them to contribute to this episode, but they had to be in the episode anyway. I wish there had been more Giles stuff. I feel like he's one of the characters that would be the most emotionally impacted by Buffy leaving, but that wasn't really explored, and now she's back. I thought the demons preying on down and out kids made sense, I mean, I'm not saying that, like, if I were Demon, that's what I would do. But the story worked. I was a little disappointed that Buffy's still harping on Angel, and he even showed up in this episode, even though it was a dream, so we're not done with that. But Oz is apparently going to be a bigger part of the show now, so that's kind of a plus. I gave it a B-.
I gave it a B+. I thought this was a good episode. I agree that it felt a lot like the beginning of Season 2, including having larger scale fights than usual, Buffy dealing with personal stuff, and just being a better episode than we usually get. But that momentum didn't carry on to the rest of Season 2. I hope this season does that a little better. Even though Buffy was depressed, she didn't act like a child, and I hope that continues to be the case. I thought this episode actually handled that really well. I didn't mind seeing Angel in just that one flashback, and her still dealing with that, because that was a big part of her life. And I'm glad they didn't handle it in a stupid or annoying way, like they usually did in Season 2. I thought it was cool to see the others trying to kill vampires in Buffy's absence, even though it seems very implausible that none of them have died yet. And I wondered why Giles wasn't with them when they're out patrolling. Given that Buffy doesn't come back until the very end of the episode, I think it leaves some good room for some interesting stuff in the next episode, so I hope it doesn't disappoint.